1. We all get them sometimes, the guests who keep themselves willfully ignorant of any information or policy that you do your best to share, aided and abetted in this endeavor by travel arrangers who do their best to hide the most pertinent information from the traveler to save themselves by making it the front desk personnel that bear the brunt of the traveler's ire when the booked accommodation falls short of their inflated and unrealistic expectations. Note: I am at a small 4-star self-catering property. No porter, no room service, no parking on the premises, and no valet to take cars to the parking lot around the corner, with which we have an arrangement for our guests. These guests arrive on Friday evening, obviously expecting a 5-star full-service hotel for their 3 nights with us over an event weekend. Oh joy! After husband and wife bring in luggage from their car and are given directions to our discounted parking arrangement nearby, they come back and all during check-in make little remarks about how they didn't make the booking. Their credit card company's travel desk did. We'll call them US Swiftly. And obviously we didn't know about all this, meaning the limited service of the hotel. We have them allocated to a suite on level 2, but they want a higher floor. Not available because an international sporting event has booked out our hotel and the city far in advance. We only have 2 rooms left that aren't checked in, and they can't be moved from their existing allocations. Not thrilled, but they take the keys, grab their luggage and head upstairs. After check-in, a few calls came down from the room about various things. This isn't working. Well, that's because you haven't turned it on, sir. Our suite is supposed to have these things, but we don't have any of these things. Yes, you do. We keep them in the cupboards. The Wi-Fi isn't working. Your network is obviously broken. We're in the center of the city, surrounded by office and residential buildings. You should be able to see at least 30 Wi-Fi networks. But your device isn't showing a single one. The problem is with your device. Please try turning it off and on again, etc., etc. 2 hours later, I receive an incoming call while at the front desk, dealing with the last 2 check-ins. Wifey has just phoned to say that they're out to dinner and needs someone to check the room because she's forgotten to turn off the iron. Heart racing and trying to remember where the fire extinguisher is on that floor, I rush the check-ins, lock up reception, and race upstairs. Iron on the ironing board, plugged into the PowerPoint kitchen bench. At least she called me to tell me, and I didn't find it after the fire alarms evacuated the building. Saturday goes by with basically more of the same, but thankfully no attempts to burn down the hotel. Cut to this afternoon, it's Sunday. Guests return from their day out as spectators to the final day of international sporting event, and go upstairs to get changed and head off to yet another swanky dinner out at a fancy restaurant. Shortly after they return, I get an internal call from the room. I put my make up the room sign, and my room wasn't made up. I have no clean towels. That's right, there's no housekeeping services on Sundays. That is ridiculous, you can't be serious. We don't make up rooms on Sundays. There's a colored sign in the kitchen of each apartment that advises our guests of this. You've got to be kidding. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but we do advertise our servicing restrictions through all of the websites and agencies that list us. If you need any more towels or tea or coffee supplies, you're welcome to pop past the front desk. I have them here for you. This is ridiculous. Fine. I guess I'll just have to come down then. She slams the phone. Gee, I wonder if she finds it ridiculous. Wifey reaches the desk and lets me know, despite the fact that they are checking out in 16 hours, they need a double set of bath towels. You see, she and hubby are too posh to even consider using their own bath towels more than once, and they will each shower before going to dinner tonight and again in the morning before checking out. I only have 4 bath towels left here at reception, and she wants 8. I give her the small towels and apologize. Tell her I'll run to a storeroom and bring the bath towels to her apartment for her. She glares at me, and then unleashes a lecture in a tone that makes me feel like a 6-year-old being told off by a grade 2 teacher. This is ridiculous. I know you just work here and get paid, but really, this is not good service, and we never would have chosen this place, and we certainly won't be coming back. I know you told me that you advertised this on websites, but I didn't make the booking. US Swiftly booked this for us. That green sign in the kitchen, we never used the kitchen. I didn't see that until you pointed it out. And we spent the whole time at the racing or out to dinner with friends. And when we have been in the room, we had the ironing board up there, so we just didn't see it. You should have told us at check-in. This is so frustrating. I can't believe US Swiftly would book us here. We certainly won't be back. Oh, the responses that went through my head right then. I'm sorry again, I'll drop those towels off shortly, and please let me say just how glad I am to hear you won't be back. Or, I'm sorry, yes I do get paid to be here, it isn't just a hobby. Though I'm not sure what that has to do with anything since you brought money into it, I think you should probably know that most of our guests this weekend are paying at least twice the rate that US Swiftly has paid us for your room. Or, well, you know, it's just as frustrating for the hotel as it is for you when your booking agents don't pass on the relevant information to you before you arrive. Or more likely, when you refuse to read the confirmation and booking information that they did give you. Or I'm so sorry, you're absolutely right, it is my fault for not telling you. It's also my fault if your agent didn't give you any of the hotel's information. Totally on me that you didn't read the booking confirmation that the agent did give you. And it's obviously entirely my fault that you didn't read the vividly printed 2 shades short of fluorescent green sign that was right in front of your self-ignorant face when you plugged in the iron that you tried to use to burn down the hotel. Yes, the sign that says there's no housekeeping services on Sundays, that she spent 3 days and 2 nights not reading, was directly above the PowerPoint into which she plugged that iron. Obviously, what I actually did was apologize again and then lock up the front office to run off and fetch her towels. I approached the room with the armload of clean towels, to find she's strewn the wet used towels about across the hallway outside the room. Seeing this made me irrationally mad. What kind of self-important upper-middle-class US Swiftly Platinum travel card-holding grown adult thinks it's okay to chuck used linen into the hallway like a 3-year-old having a tantrum? Yes, I know from other stories this is not nearly as bad as we could expect from most entitled tantrum-chucking adults, but still, totally classless and not the type of behavior we often see at my hotel. I handed her the towels, and she watched as I walked away without a word past her handiwork in the hallway. I hadn't brought a linen bag with me, and I was glad because if she was waiting at the open door to watch me pick up her mess, I'd have had a hard time controlling my words. I came back with the linen bag when, thankfully, the door was closed and cleaned it all up. Yes, I know I simply could have told them on check-in that there was not going to be a service on Sunday, and in hindsight I obviously would have. Unfortunately, all the little snide remarks about the second-floor room, having to park their car themselves like all our other guests, having to take their own luggage like all our other guests, and how, obviously, we didn't choose this place for ourselves. US Swiftly did. Put off my flow. And obviously didn't leave me much room to get words in edgewise. But then I also didn't assume that a seemingly well-educated and affluent couple would have a hard time reading a very eye-catching notice in one of the most prominent positions in the room. I really hope I don't hear from them again tonight. Tomorrow is my Saturday, and boy, do I look forward to my weekend. 2. So we have been getting calls about a couple of days in March where everyone and their mother is looking to come into town. And as I'm looking up a guest reservation, I notice that a block of rooms was put in. 8 rooms with 2 king beds. We only have 3 of that type of room. So naturally I call the booking site and explain to them that they've been putting in reservations that we cannot accept, and they need to contact the guest to fix it. They sent me an email that I have to agree to before they'll contact the guest. We're sorry to hear that you have to relocate our mutual customers outlined below due to hotel overbooked. Avail. If you are unable to accommodate or provide alternative accommodations, then $3,138.67 will be billed to your property. Please note, guest rate relocation is one of the worst lodging-related experiences possible while traveling. You must find and entirely pay for equal or better rated accommodation and transportation, or pay, abusive third-party booker, for all costs incurred securing alternative lodging. Relocations can negatively impact your visibility on the ATBB websites, and therefore bookings. Relocating a guest may generate a negative customer review from that guest. As we discussed, please accept one of the options below by copying the preferred choice and pasting it at the top of your email response. If a response is not received until 3rd of March 2019, and these bookings will be relocated, and then $3,138.67 will be billed to Hotel Hidden. Note, the amount and room availability are subject to change without notice up until time of booking. I will honor the original booking, and there is no further action required. Most favorable action with no consequences. I will find and entirely pay for equal or better rated accommodation and transportation in consultation with the guest. Moderately favorable action with no cost liability to ATPB, but potential impact on visibility and reviews. I am unable to honor the booking and also find an equal or better rated accommodation. I accept the liability of the below amount, subject to change without notice up until time of booking, and will pay the actual invoice amount within 14 days of receipt of invoice. Least favorable action with all of the consequences. Additionally, I will refund the guest any deposits or charges already made to their credit card. My response: under no circumstances are we accepting a charge of over $3,000 for your mistake. These rooms were booked in error by your system, giving 8 rooms of a type of room where only 3 exist on our property. As discussed with the representative on 2/28/2019, this reservation is wholly invalid in the fact that it was booked for accommodations that do not exist. No representative of Hidden Hotel okayed this reservation. It was pushed through negligently by ATPB, not caring for the actual accommodation to the guest. Furthermore, threatening us with a bad review and forcing an excessive fee for your error, despite the fact that the guest is not due to arrive for almost a month, and at this point has not paid a dime, is an abusive practice towards us that negatively impacts our relationship with you as a company. It is bad enough that you made this mistake, but you need to rectify this mistake yourself. This fee is absolutely unacceptable. We will not accept it, even if your company fails to do its job in finding rooms that are available to rent. We have 2 options available to clear up this situation. 1, if the guest is amenable to accepting 5 rooms with a single king bed, we can switch to an SNK1, non-smoking 1 king room. 2, if the guest requires double beds for all rooms, we can cancel any of the reservations for this group without penalty, so they can find other accommodations elsewhere. This can be done in whole or in part. While it may not be the ideal solution, we can change some rooms and cancel others. We do not have much time. Other hotels in the area will also be full or filling at this point, but if we wait for the guests to arrive, they will be stuck without rooms. Know that if you fail to find proper accommodation for this guest, this response will be provided to the guest. I am so tired of these booking sites. Update. We have gotten confirmation that indeed our property management system is showing the correct number of rooms, and that there is no way any brand system is showing 8 rooms available for the requested type. ATPB has cancelled the reservations, but also sent a second copy of the original threatening email to the manager's account. We don't know yet if they intend to send a bill for the $3,000 relocation fee. After getting that email, the manager instructed me to call in our tech support. Of course, I told him about it yesterday, but that's a different issue. We confirmed that the correct number of rooms is showing as available, currently 2, as 1 is rented for tonight, and that only 3 are showing in both tech support and our systems. They will be pushing an update towards ATPB's system to try to ensure that they have the correct numbers. But then they transferred me to a second support desk, because why would we have just 1 support desk, am I right? Who dropped the biggest bombshell? They've been getting calls like this all day, with the same TPB company overbooking rooms across the country. They are looking into the situation, and my boss is about ready to force us off the booking site completely. To other front desk clerks, if you see overbookings in your system caused by a third party, report it to your brand. They will continue this abuse as long as we allow them to do so. 3. This happened about 15 years ago when I was still a teenager. My family comes from a touristy town full of hotels. Dad worked as a chef in one of them, and that year he decided to give me the gift of a valuable life lesson. He signed me up for a summer job at the reception. This was a common thing for high school kids around my age. Pretty much every bar, restaurant, and hotel needed extra workforce during peak season, and it was a nice opportunity to make some extra cash during summer break. The job was your standard errand boy gig. Carry suitcases, answer the phone, hand people room keys, help with large group check-ins and check-outs, etc. It didn't pay well, but luckily the tips made up for it. Because I was just a random part-time teenager with no real qualifications and experience, they rarely left me at the front desk alone. Our story begins on one of these occasions. The phone rang and the guy on the other side was trying to tell me something in Hebrew. Just for context, this is happening in the middle of Europe. Most of our guests were from Germany, Italy, and Russia. We rarely got people from Israel, and if we did, they would come in organized groups with a guide who was typically fluent in English, so all communication went through them. Nobody on our team spoke a word of Hebrew. Anyway, back to the phone call. I apologized to the guest on the line in English for not speaking his language, and ask him to try to explain what the problem is. He manages to piece together something about the shower not working. I can see his room number on my phone, so I assure him we'll be sending someone over immediately. I call our maintenance guy, who says he'll get right on it. Problem solved. Or so I thought. 20 minutes later, the same guest calls again, sounding much more pissed than the first time. He goes on a loud rant in Hebrew, with some English bits thrown in. Cannot, bathroom, problem, no shower. Bring for shower. I call the maintenance guy, who says he was just in his room and everything seemed normal. He calls me back in 5 minutes and tells me he checked everything. Turned the bathroom lights on and off, flushed the toilet, opened hot water in the shower, and dried the hairdryer. Everything is working as expected. Oh, and the guest was yelling at him the entire time. I'm not sure what to do at this point, but since there's no one else to cover the front desk, I don't really have much choice. Luckily, the problem solves itself. After a minute or two, I noticed someone who I correctly assumed was my angry caller coming towards the reception. I am pretty sure everyone else notices him too, as he's red in the face and yelling from the other side of the lobby. He comes to the front desk and we start going in the same circle as we did on the phone. He yells at me in Hebrew, I apologize for not understanding, and kindly ask him to try to explain in English. To which he replies with, bathroom, shower, problem, fix, cannot shower. After a few repetitions of this, I take a piece of paper, sketch out a shower and a pen to him, thinking he'll perhaps point somewhere or draw something that could help me. Nope, he just scribbles over my beautiful drawing and throws the pen back at me. In the middle of this hot mess, an older Italian man walks up, and since I've pretty much given up on helping the pissed off Israeli, I take a step towards him, figuring he probably just wants to pick up his room key. Before I can ask if he needs help, he gestures with a kind of I'm okay, all good towards me, leans on the reception counter, and takes out his pipe. My country only banned smoking indoors in 2007 or so. He slowly fills it, lights it up, and starts smoking, clearly enjoying the shit show that's going down just a few feet away. The ranting goes on for some time, until a lady from housekeeping randomly comes by with a trolley full of clean towels. The crazy guy goes completely bananas at this point and yells, This I need! He grabs what must have been about 15 towels and runs to his room. I just stare in disbelief. The Italian guy looks at me with a smile on his face, takes a puff and says, Nervous fellow. 4. For those unfamiliar with my situation, I've worked as a night auditor for various locations over the past decade or so. I've dealt with my share of ridiculousness, the drunks and druggies, the entitled and enraged, the clueless and the con artist. Tonight is one of those simply belligerent moments, though small, inconsequential in the grand scheme, and simply stupid. My current property, a meager 150 rooms, is a decent space, but we're a bit out of the way for big city and big city airport. Despite being relatively close, I am the only agent on staff at night, with a houseman to clean, run items to rooms, and do shuttles. This means that any actual front desk work is mine and mine alone. So let's get to it, shall we? Let's call our guest Uwan. Upset about nothing. Uwan and I started off this evening with some of the usual issues. Me welcoming him in and having trouble finding his reservation. Unsurprising. He made it for 2 rooms not 5 minutes earlier, and we all know these take a while to populate. Fooking.com doesn't supply guests with our in-house confirmation numbers, so I'm left dealing with others at the desk while I advise Uwan to hang out a bit. I'm a bit concerned through this conversation as we only had a few rooms left, and I wasn't entirely certain his new reservations hadn't overbooked us. Tangent. I hadn't been into location less than an hour. Busy with teams and a fair number of calls for shuttles and the like. Uwan's reservations finally populate though, and we go through the process. At this point, I've determined that he has booked the last 2 rooms available in the house. I inform him of this, and go on to explain that his second room is ADA accessible. It will have a lowered bed, larger doorways, handlebars in the shower, etc. He seems not to have any trouble with this, so we finalize with the incidentals. I get him keys, and away he goes. I continue on with my night for about 10 more minutes. An irate woman on the phone who says we must have rooms because the internet. We don't have rooms though, and she's booking for tomorrow. A man upset that he didn't return to the hotel before the restaurant closed, which he attests closed early. Once again, no, the restaurant always closes at 10 p.m. and you're here far past that. But these joys were not to last. Yuan returns to the desk furious.
You didn't tell me that room was for handicaps. I want a different room.
I'm really sorry, sir, but I did inform you that these were my last 2 rooms, and that one was ADA accessible for those with special requirements. If you desire another room, I'd be happy to call around and find somewhere that would fit your needs, but if you wish to stay here, that is all that's available.
You're telling me to get out?
Already getting a little exasperated with his huffy attitude, but still with my plastic smile on. No, sir, I'm simply saying that if you wish to stay with us, the room I've booked you into is what we can provide. No other rooms are available. I'm at full capacity. As I said, yours were the last 2 rooms on our property.
You can't kick me out.
I'm not, sir. Again, you may stay in the current room, or I can help you find another space elsewhere. But those are the options we can give you tonight. This goes on for a time, Yuan giving me excuses while I attempt to take phone calls and deal with guests who are getting snacks. And this man continues to give me excuses.
You're lying to me.
Sir, I'm happy to show you my room charts for availability. I turned my screen so he can see it, pointing at the line of rooms it represents today. Each of these black blocks represents a guest. For example, here is you. If it's blank for today's column, then that room is left available. Yuan spots one yellow block.
What about this one?
That room is currently out of order for major repairs, sadly. Yuan walks away for a second, mumbling to himself. Are you certain you don't want me to help you find other accommodations, sir? Yuan, finally snapping out of whatever internal rant he was on, says,
No, I'm just gonna call your manager in the morning and get you fired. I'll find something myself.
This last sentence was used a couple times whilst I try to be calm and decent with him. I guess he eventually decided his scare tactics wouldn't work either, though, because grumbling, bemoaning, and not making a lot of sense finally gets out what I recognized as,
Fine, cancel it.
His voice oozed the most bilious tone I've ever heard without someone shouting,
And where's my money come back?
I'll check you out, sir, and your deposit, sir, will release that on our side immediately. But that usually takes 2 or 3 days by your bank's procedures to return fully. I hope you have a lovely night. Yuan, turning back to me, mumbles angrily again about getting me fired with my manager, sure buddy, and proceeds to walk out. I, having considered waiving the cancellation, was now less than pleased with his entire handling of this situation, and so decided to follow strict procedure from there. If the room had been used in more than a minor way, he would be fully charged. After sending up my houseman to check, he informed me that it was, of course, used. And at this point, I was more than happy to charge him for the second room. As a side note, I haven't heard from or seen Yuan's second person at all tonight. I guess that room worked out just fine for them. My houseman and I have also turned over Yuan's used room, and it's now been sold to a different guest. Something tells me my job is safe, Yuan, you curmudgeonly ingrate. 5. A little backstory. We are currently almost done going under renovation, so we deal with all types of complaints. Mainly us not letting the guests know prior to check-in. Sorry, our management company only knows you as $signs, not as a human being. Now this all happened within 30 minutes of each other. I'm working a 7 to 3 as an AGM when my GM walks in and spends some time with me at the front desk. This is one of my first checkouts. My GM is with me. Good morning, how can I help you?
I would like to check out.
Yes, sir, I can help you out with that.
I was in room 237.
Do you want to go ahead and keep it on your card?
Yes.
Would you like a printed out receipt or would you like an emailed receipt?
I would like a printed out receipt, and could you explain to me why you charge me an extra 15%?
So at check-in, we go ahead and authorize the full amount plus 15% for any incidentals.
But why are you charging me more?
We only authorize for incidentals. We only charge until checkout.
Are you saying that hotel does this? Why is this?
Sir, I can assure you that every hotel authorizes for incidentals, even
No, you're the only ones that do this.
Well, okay. Here is your receipt showing that we only charged you room and tax.
Okay.
Guest leaves. My GM says, "You know, it took every inch of me to say, sir, every hotel does this. I will personally call 5 hotels and check about their incidental fee. If a single hotel says they do not authorize for incidentals, I will comp your night." Yeah, it's just been a weird morning. 20 minutes later. "Good morning. I'm an Ultra Platinum member. I stay here all the time, and I would like to use your bathroom." We don't really say much if you'd like to use our public restroom. As long as you're not trying to shit up, you're totally okay. I remember this guest in particular because this is about the 5th time she's tried this while I'm on the desk, which again, we don't really care about. "Yes, ma'am, that's totally fine." "Are you guys almost done with your renovation?" "We're almost done. We have just 2 floors to go."
Okay."
She uses the bathroom.
"Is this what it's going to look like now?"
"Yes, ma'am, we just have a couple touches in the lobby, but we're pretty much done."
I don't like it."
I was just recently transferred to this property about 6 months ago, and I have never seen this guest in-house. The only time I've seen her is when she tries to pull the Ultra Platinum member just to use our bathroom. Well, ma'am, we've received a lot of comments about how outdated our hotel is. And as of recent, we've been getting comments on how people have been liking the changes so far.
Well, I just don't like it.
I remember this guest has not spent a single dime at our hotel. Well, everyone has been loving the updates so far.
Well, I don't like them.
Everyone is just held back by her comments. I'm lucky to have my GM and sales manager hear this, so they don't think I'm crazy. The Ultra Platinum member just walks out as she's finished her business. My GM looks at me with a WTF is going on look and asks me if there was a full moon the previous night. I'm just overjoyed letting him know that this is a normal thing that happens almost every day. I was just afraid that no one would believe that it was actually happening. One of the big points of me being transferred was that a renovation would look good on my resume. At first I thought it wasn't going to be that bad, but then we have our management company asking us about our occupancy, then our scores. Our main complaint was how guests were not made aware of the renovation prior to the renovation. This is why I will always see our management company as seeing our guests as $signs, instead as what they are, and they will try to brainwash us into seeing our guests the same way during service conferences. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw number 19. I'm going to keep this outro super short because quite frankly I feel awful and it was all I could do to get through recording the video right now. I may have mentioned it before in the past, but I have IBS, which is Dr. Talk for we don't know what's causing the problem, but we don't think it's serious. And I have done for many years, but I haven't had a flare up this bad for quite a number of years, so I'm currently dealing with that and it's so much fun. Anyway, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.